Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is the 1st of September. This is another of our monthly SIG CLI customized blocker box scrub. Our host today will be Katrina. So Katrina, take it away from here.
Hi, thanks everyone for coming. I'm just going to share my screen here. I'm having a bit of a permissions issue with Zoom, but hopefully, I'm going to have to reopen Zoom. I will be right back. Sorry about that.
For those cases, we should have like an on-hold music to entertain us for a little bit.
I can show you the beautiful Colorado mountains in downtown Denver.
That's nice.
All right, I need host permissions again, but
Yeah,
it should work this time.
Yeah,
okay.
I just gave you that one.
Excellent. Do you see the meeting notes?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. All right, so before we get started, I just wanted to highlight that for those interested in Kustomize, we actually have 2 Kustomize related KEP PRs open at the moment. If you're interested, please go take a look. This one is for a proposal called Catalog, adding the initial KEP artifacts for that. So the initial proposal documents, KEP, the PR number is 2908. And then the second one is updating a different KEP that was proposed this past winter to implementable and refining the details in there. So if you're interested in either of those, please go take a look. Before we get started with the board, is there any particular issue that anyone is bringing today that they would like us to take a look at first?
Katrina, can you paste the links to the caps into, I don't know, chat or agenda?
Yes.
Can be done after the call as well. And secondly, there is a 123 cap spreadsheet tracking thing. Does that mean we should be adding both of those to the spreadsheet?
They're both customized specific. I don't know if historically we've tracked customized features that way.
Okay. I'll have a look at the caps after this call, and I'll ping you in a DM about whether we need to or not add them over there.
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good. So any specific issues to look at with anybody? All right, we can just get started with the board then. So at the top here, how to create a setter for an item in an array. This is kind of interesting in the sense that we are deprecating setters in Kustomize. So potentially it would be a won't fix. Yeah, it's using a KRM file. Let's see, have we said anything about this before? And Natasha, are you here this morning?
I'm here. I actually did not see this, so I'm reading through it. Considering we just deprecated all their config commands, I am tempted to just tell them that and mark it won't fix.
Mm-hmm. That would be this issue, presumably. Oh no, that's not an issue. That's the PR. Let's see, it probably references the issue. That would let me Getting to it quickly here. As described in, and this is our big discussion, right? Yes, this should be the right one. All right. So as discussed in this issue, we will be deprecating all setter related functionality in kustomize. Anything else to add?
Looks good to me.
All right. Next here. Load restrictions none is not correctly opening files from configurations outside of directory for Git customizations. Git customizations. Let's see. A remote, specifically a remote Git resource. Oh, this is quite the error message. Security is not in or below. Okay. Interesting. That seems legitimate. Seems to me that if we're allowing repos to be cloned like this, then the load restrictor should correctly allow them to be used as well. Because load restrictions none sounds like we shouldn't be throwing an error about the location.
Didn't we drop, because he's mentioning explicitly that this is working until 3.8. Didn't we drop the remote opening of files in kustomize due to the problems of bumping kustomize in Cube? I remember there was something about remote locations and the libraries that were using kustomize before.
That's a good point. We dropped HashiCorp Go-Getter support, but not plain Git URL support, if I remember correctly. This is quite the error message to read here, but I think it is saying that it's cloning the resource. See, it's you see it's cloned it into private var folders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera here. And you can see it's got the YAML file. So I think it did do the clone.
It is in a separate directory though. It is not below. I think the error message might be correct from what I'm reading, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What does load restrictions none do?
The default load restrictor policy is that when you invoke kustomize on a given tree of customizations, you're pointing at the root customization that is sort of like the point of origin. And all of the files that it references have to be at or below that directory level. But you can get around that by saying load restrictors none, and then you can point to any file that you want.
Okay, then this definitely seems like a bug. We shouldn't be getting that error.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna accept it. It was probably marked bug already. Yeah. So yeah, that needs to be looked into further. Is it also curious, I think, if it's, since kustomize is a complete control of where it's putting these things, it's also, I think, baseline curious that it's putting it somewhere that it doesn't consider acceptable, like 2 different directories here mentioned in the error message. All right. Let's see, this one is open just 6 days ago, so a pretty new one, and nobody's taken a look yet. Phone labels should not alter match labels. I feel like we've seen something similar to this before, though.
Katrina, one ask, can you bump your font a little bit? I know that GitHub tends to small those, and I'm super lazy and I'm usually reading from off of your screen, so
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, I should also paste these in the chat. Sorry about that. Here's the one I'm looking at right now.
It looks like they've resolved it themselves in like their first few sentences. It just looks like a documentation issue.
Mhm.
So that they should be using the labels field, not the common labels field for this functionality.
Right. Okay. So kind documentation. Should we accept it or? I guess so. Do you know offhand if it's true that there's no documentation on this?
I'm pretty sure there isn't. I think Donnie left before writing the documentation.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, I need to remove kind of feature. Just. All right. Kustomize is converting quoted string to non-quoted one, to which resource apply is failing. Let's see.
Isn't this this happens, I think, because it's converting to JSON and then back to YAML or something when it's numeric, I think.
Yeah, probably. This reminds me of an issue we saw last time where the number in question was in the image tag field. I feel like this might be difficult to solve, but it should work. It's as in, I think it's a legitimate bug. It's something that you should be able to do. Does anyone disagree?
So it's parsed as a string but turned into an int.
It seems like I think the way that Kustomize reads in the customization itself is, as Brian said, with the JSON to YAML SIG YAML library. So it actually goes through a few transformations, one of which are just like read and marshallings, and at some point the explicit quotes are being dropped from it. There's probably something that thinks they're not necessary because it knows it's a string field, but then something further on, well, once it gets rewritten, they're not there. And I'm not sure exactly when this error message is coming from. I guess this is some. Oh no, it's kubectl apply that is having the error. So it's not within. It's not within Kustomize itself. Okay, so maybe. So I guess there are two possible fixes. One is that Kustomize should be quoting the namespace. The other one is that kubectl apply should be able to successfully apply a namespace that has, that this field is a string. and that shouldn't cause a problem.
I mean, the problem, the root of the problem is similar to both kubectl and kustomize, and it lies in the libraries that we use for Yum and JSON parsing. It just so happens that it presents in the output of the kustomize because it spits something which looks like a number, and the library thinks it's a number, so it places as a number. If there will be at least one letter in this replacement bit, I'm pretty sure that this will be properly parsed by the library. But since this is a number, but should be treated as a string and not a number, the root cause is inside of the library. So it's hard to fix on either end. The shared library is the problem that we would need to solve. I'm not 100% sure if that's such an easy and obvious fix.
That's the same reason we need to quote true and false and stuff in like annotations, because otherwise it parses it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that we could do on the customized side would be something very complicated. As now that I look at this more closely, this is a namespace field in customization that and the place where they want the quotes or they need the quotes is just all over all of the objects that end up getting created. So I don't think currently there's any way that we could easily do that, like record the fact that this is supposed to be quoted, and then everywhere that it affects, which could be actually quite a large number of places, including cross-subject references, needing to end up getting quoted.
Would it be worth failing if we saw a number that was quoted and just say there's a problem with this?
I'm not a customized guru, but I'm wondering whether there are some kind of a filtering that we could use to explicitly state that this is a string or something along those lines, that would potentially, I don't know, give a suggestion, and this way we could pass the suggestions over to the parser to ensure that this is treated as a string. Because the problem is basically you're getting a bunch of characters and the machine just can't figure out, because we don't have a way to state whether this is a int or something else. Alternatively, we could look at the OpenAPI scheme and force that, and I wonder if that should be done on kubectl or customized side, or both.
If we did something like that, I'd be inclined to say kubectl should do it, because that's the bigger entry point. Like YAML generated from anywhere could face this problem. Something that Kustomize could potentially do is have the option to change the output YAML style. Some styles are more like, there's a quoted style that might do the trick here. Like default to quoting strings, even when it doesn't seem necessary. But I'd have to look into it in more detail. It's a while ago that I looked at that. And I don't think Kustomize itself exposes it, but KYAML might, which could give us some options. I'm going to assign this to myself to look into more. Okay. Here's the next one. Kustomize edit set image doesn't work with Kustomize multi-bases build. One moment.
Sorry, real quick, just follow up from the last one. We're saying that the issue is that kustomize is not outputting the quotes for that namespace name, right? Is that the issue?
Strictly speaking, I think the YAML that kustomize is outputting is correct. Like it's perfectly valid. And the best fix would be on the kubectl side, because that would help that would help users that had got their YAML from somewhere else as well. And as much as that is probably a fix to the underlying YAML library that's actually used by both. But what I wanted to, the reason I assigned it to myself is to look into if there are any options that we could do for customized users who are specifically encountering this problem, such as set a YAML style that quote strings by default, whether or not it seems necessary, instead of what happens in the default style, which is they only get quoted if for some reason it thinks they're ambiguous.
I think that
explicitly set.
Sorry, I just did a little bit of testing. I think that names, I feel like that's just a YAML thing where you need to force a string out of numbers. Like if you want this to be treated as a string, you have to wrap it in quotes. So if we believe that, then I would say that the bug is in kustomize, in that kustomize should be passing those quotes along, because the Open API spec mandates a string there, not a number, and that's why we're failing. Did I get that right?
I can probably argue in both directions. It's basically the problem with the library. Because
I don't think it's a library though. I think that's a YAML thing.
I mean,
right? Like that needs to be quoted as a string. Otherwise, the YAML parser has no idea if it's a string or a number.
Right, but it was initially parsed as a string due to the replacement and the actions following up. The output YAML was omitted of that particular quotation on that one. So maybe the question is of how the transformation are happening. Can we force something as a string, because that's how it was initially put there by the user? So yeah.
Okay, got it.
I know that KYAML, which uses the v3 GoYAML library, like it does store that information about what we read it as. But because this field is coming from customization itself, I'm pretty sure is read with the SIG YAML library, which uses the YAML v2, which in that case, I'm really not sure it preserves that information and would be inclined to think it doesn't. Okay. That's probably as intended. But it seems like the use cases, they want it to sort of go through the entire tree and set image everywhere. Natasha, did you have a thought?
I guess I'm like, even if it only set the image in the overlay, wouldn't they still see it in the output? Am I missing something?
Are they saying it's not in the output at all?
Yeah, they're saying it's missing from the output. Though it works and the final build is printed on console, but without the image tag.
Yeah, but if I'm reading it correctly, that's because the image tag isn't included in that root customization. The root one, I guess we could open up the sample code, but
Oh.
I'm guessing the root one doesn't include an image tag at all. It's only referenced by children of customizations. So like, it's kind of a no op to run it on the root, just nothing to do. What do you think about making set image actually attempt to go through the various customization layers to?
I don't think that's a good idea. I think there was a feature request at some point to have like a recursive option, which I might be open to, but I don't think just customize edit set image should go through the entire tree.
Mm-hmm. Would you be willing to dig that issue up?
Yeah, I can respond to them.
Okay, I'll assign you. Thank you. There we go. Anchors.
Our favorite, right?
Yeah. So as an update on that, there is an anchor expansion issue within a single resource, which this example is a single resource, so that would apply. Sorry, there's a fix that is actually on master branch right now, but it's not hooked up yet. Jeff has been working on figuring out how to actually integrate the feature that's already added in KYAML to the actual customization build. So that should be fixed soon, hopefully by the next release. But I don't think this is a novel issue. In short, I think this is a duplicate of the same problem where it's just like, there's nothing specific about this. It's just anchors do not work in general right now. Let's see, YAML anchor support. Triage duplicates. All right. Directory recursion to be disabled. Bottom-up configuration for customizations. It's something that changed in 2.0 that was a rather long time ago. Open up this one.
I wonder if should we just ask this user for an example of why they need to do it this way?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, why can't they just alter their directory structure?
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like we changed this intentionally to avoid problems. And sometimes it's best to be opinionated about this sort of thing because it's actually more confusing to be able to do it multiple ways that have gotchas, which seems to be what we're trying to avoid here. Yeah, right on this. Sound good?
Yep.
Name references not getting updated after kind change.
I think I can dig deeper into this one. It sounds like there's a bug in the way the annotations are storing previous GVKs. And I worked on that code, so I can take a closer look.
Should I accept it or just?
Yeah, you can accept it.
Oh, this is probably a similar root cause to the other integer related one. Let's see what it's saying. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's a long error. I'm still scrolling.
Here we go. JSON, unsupported type, map interface, interface. Oh. So it only has a reference to this one file. Here's the key. I think this is a duplicate of another issue. This, yeah. Let's see if there's been any recent comments here. Yeah, it's the same error, I believe. Yeah, it's the exact same error. So this is a duplicate. All right. There was a problematic change to the script recently, right, Natasha, that got reverted? But it wasn't 12 days ago. It was like 3 days ago or something.
That was like yesterday that
Okay.
the change went in, and I reverted it like 12 minutes later.
Oh, they're trying to download a really old version.
Didn't we have something similar at the last bug scrub?
This person's made a PR. There was a problem. I don't think it was with the install script specifically last time. I think it was with a specific version that even if you tried to install it, it didn't work anymore. And
I see.
yeah, they were trying to go get it or something like that, and it didn't work anymore. So we told them to just download it from the releases page. But since there's an attached PR here, I see you saw it at least. Do you think we would accept this PR assuming it works correctly? I wouldn't have, otherwise I would have just told them probably, because it's a very old version, to just download it from the releases page, but because they're contributing, I'm inclined to be open to the fix.
I looked at
I
the
think-
PR real quick. It looks like it's just because the tag format changed in the newer versions. Is it possible to just go back and re-tag some of the old ones so that they work?
I imagine that would be quite a lot of tagging. I don't know, but possibly.
Yeah, I don't know how many that would be.
I mean, I'm not opposed to accepting this PR as long as it, like, the script still works.
Yeah, it doesn't seem too complicated. Kind of wish Jeff was here to be able to comment on the difficulty of the alternative of actually going to do that tagging.
Yeah, it might be more than that. I think it's something to do with releases too, so it might be more than that.
Yeah, the release process was totally different back then, so I really am not sure. Let's just accept it since they're proposing a fix. What is this code doing exactly? This is in the definition. So it's assuming there's only one, because the way that it's structured, it's only going to be able to use one. Interesting. Index by GK.
Is there any reason we can't just add them all? Like, why do we only have to add the first one?
That's what I'm trying to understand by staring at this this code, but I feel like I need to spend more time reading it. Like, is this gonna cause a problem? Like, it's expecting there's only one, and it's gonna get a single type meta out of it, and then like maybe this could be a loop because it theoretically is going to return different type meta for each of these definitions that it actually got back here. If there's more than one, so that should work fine. Yeah, I think that should work. I think you're right.
Okay.
It was probably a shortcut on the assumption that there just wouldn't be more than one in that case. Seems legitimate. Are you interested in working on that one?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. It seems simple enough.
Mm-hmm. I know you've done a lot of work on this open API stuff. Starlark function. Huh, this is an example that I added actually. And it's kind of related to the issue that we just fixed for the execution directory of exec functions. In the sense that
it sounds like the exact same issue, like the last sentence, the reference to these files should be relative to the file it's in.
Yeah, although we made a different decision for exec that it's relative to the customization that includes the file. We should probably make the same decision here.
I agree.
Yeah, how can I safely share the file with any function that wants to use it? That's almost a bigger question of distribution of these functions. But within one customization, it should be relatively easy to make it work. They're looking to make it work like the legacy exec style, which is probably not something we want to do. I'll assign this to myself. There's also an issue of whether or not we'll support Starlark in the long term, which is perhaps a different question because while the alpha exists, maybe we should still fix it. But Starlark inclusion is a problem for parity in the standalone and kubectl builds of Kustomize. Panic, that's no good. That's strange. Parse comment in fields.
He said that, like, in his comment later, that it was because of a blank line in the customization file.
Oh, so I was trying to read this blank document before the line, presumably, instead of the actual customization.
Yeah. Is that a bug?
Certainly not a good user experience for a very simple error. If it's easy enough to fix, we should probably fix it. If we're already able to read these with something that is reading a stream, we can just discard. I wonder if there's somewhere that says, you know, of these documents, take document 0, discard the rest, and we could see if length is 2 and the first one's blank, then take the second instead. I don't think we should support multiple customizations or anything crazy like that in the same file. Like, it should be a single document that we end up processing. But if you start your file with a document separator, I don't think that's terrible. We could handle it. I can assign this to myself. At least we shouldn't panic when that happens. That's pretty terrible user experience. Retitle it though, so I'm misspelling that. Panic when customization file begins with document separator. Let's see. Oh, this one is opened by Yuan. He is here today. And we did talk about this, but it is not triaged.
Yeah, I guess my the actual question I'd like to ask is like, when do you think we can release the customized API v1? And I assume this deprecation field like var CRDs will be done before that. And after the v1 release, we may want to have a more clear written down deprecation policies and worksheet.
Sorry, you've got a pretty intense echo going on. I'm having trouble understanding.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm asking like, when do we plan to have the customized API v1 release?
Oh, when? I don't think
Yeah,
we have
when.
a particular timeline on that, because there's a lot of different pieces that have to come together to get ready for that. So I think it's at this point still when we're ready, we'll do it.
Because in the 2021 roadmap, you mentioned about the deprecations. So I'm kind of wondering, like, when we add new features to customize the API, should we consider them as like backward compatible? Or that's not a big deal because we haven't released the v1 yet?
In general, our policy is to make them backwards compatible wherever possible, and also to even provide the customize edit fix command whenever we can to help people migrate from an old way to a new way of doing things, even if the old way does still work. And we're going to continue to do that, certainly. When we're able to cut the v1, then we can deprecate all of the old ways of doing things or we can have v1 not support all of the old ways that have been long deprecated. But there's probably going to be, because customization is a versioned resource, it's worth noting that doesn't mean that customize the CLI will suddenly drop that functionality. The customize the CLI would for a period support both the existing beta resource that would have all the deprecated features in it and the v1 resource that would have the removals. So even once we do the release of the v1 resource, there's still a period where the users can migrate over to it and won't experience a breaking change.
Okay. I saw we have the customized features documented in kubernetes.io. Do you think so I'm trying to understand if I want to improve the documents, because that's also in our roadmap, where should I put those infos to? I'm assuming if the feature is going to deprecate in this year, maybe we don't need to document those?
I think
Yeah,
that
I have. Sorry. Basically, I have a lot of questions about the documentations and examples that Jeff mentioned many times. I feel like the root question is, what's the timeline for the V1 release? And if we have a clearer idea, then I know what kind of document we should add to where.
I don't think it's possible to provide a timeline, given the resourcing that the project has right now.
Okay.
And I do think that the V1 beta 1 customization resource will be around for some time. So there's definitely value in updating documentation to reflect the deprecations and to actually properly show all the fields that are supported today, if that's something you're interested in doing. For the purposes of this issue, what would you want us to do with it?
Maybe you can deprecate, you can close that. Once we have a clearer idea how we want to do the document, I will create another one that talking more about the details.
Okay, we agreed that in principle it would be okay to create that chart, but actually,
yeah, I think I remember last time when we talked about this deprecation chart, Jeff preferred updating the field in Kubernetes.io website.
Right, that's not included here because, yeah, all right. Rather than our README, we've decided to update the customized field documentation. Information.
Yeah, and we also plan to add examples from the customized unit test to the actual customized document. And when I look at the Kubernetes.io, I feel like that we may need an additional table, index table to point to different pages for different customized examples. So that might be more work than simply updating one single page.
Yeah.
Do you also want to mention it there, or we can close this one and have another issue talking more about the documents?
I think there already is an issue talking about a bunch of, like, just lists a whole bunch of improvements that we want to make to the docs. So I think that's a better place to explain. So this one specifically just about the chart we were discussing, the deprecation table.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, we're out of time actually. So thanks everyone for coming. We got through a lot of issues there. I hope this was valuable.
Thank you very much, Katrina. Have a good one, everyone.